Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you two very unique and very cute gingerbread ornaments. Imagine these adorable ornaments on your Christmas tree as they appear to be floating in air from a big fabric covered balloon. These ornaments are surprisingly easy to create. Despite how intricate they may seem visually, they are very, very easy to create. Oh my gosh, I am excited to actually see these on a gingerbread theme pencil tree that I will be creating for the Quantum House. What do you think of these ornaments? Are you tempted to create them? Let me show you how. Welcome to all to my channel today. Please remember to subscribe, to like, and to share my videos. And as always, to comment. I love receiving your messages. Okay, let's get creating. Let me show you the items that you will need to create these very adorable ornaments. I have here two different types of fabric. I have obviously one, it's a big white polka dotted fabric, and then I have a gingham check. Now I cut out a square of fabric, 11 by 11, and then I just trimmed off the corners, and you'll see me do that here in a bit. But you can use whatever kind of fabric that you like, but I use the fabric to cover a styrofoam ball. Now, these styrofoam balls are around 9 inches in circumference, maybe a little bit more than 9 inches in circumference. And I think they're a good size styrofoam to simulate a balloon that these gingerbreads will be basically hanging from. Okay, you're going to need 2 gingerbreads. Now, I've used these many times before. Absolutely love these. I had gotten these last year on Amazon. They're 4 inches tall, 3.5 inches wide. They're a very nice thickness. There's that MDF board, and very easy to find on Amazon. Just put in a search for gingerbread wood cutouts for crafting, and I guarantee you will see a number of stores that carry ones of a similar nature, or if not that exact one. You're going to need your drill, and the reason why is we're going to bore a little bit of a hole down in the hand of the gingerbread to attach the wire that's going to be attached to the balloon. Going to be, you know what? I don't think I ended up using the Mod Podge. I thought about it, and then I didn't end up using it. I was going to put it on the styrofoam to help adhere the fabric, but I really didn't need to do that. So disregard that. And you're going to need some narrow ribbon for bow for the top of the head of the gingerbread, and also for the tutu. Now, I showed you there a white 6-inch snowball mesh. I picked that up at the Dollar Tree. I did use pinking shears to cut out the perimeter of my material. And I like pinking shears, first of all, because they give you a decorative edge, obviously. But otherwise, they also hinder fraying. So there's a double good reason to use pinking shears. They're very, very affordable. You could pick these up at Walmart, any craft store. I was going to say Joann's. I have to keep catching myself to not say that anymore, sadly. But anyway, so you're going to round off the corners of the square of fabric that you cut out. Now, the square of fabric that you cut out is going to be around 11 by 11. That works out to be a good size to cover that styrofoam ball. That's 9 inches. So I'm going to cut out a 26-inch long piece of that snowball mesh. Now, if you don't have snowball mesh, I highly recommend it because it's just so cute for the tutu skirt. But if you can't find it, you could use any tool. And that tool is going to be 6-inch wide if you get it on the spool. So you're just going to simply fold that in half. And I like to put a straight pin or two, actually I put 4, in there to hold it as it's folded in half. I'm going to thread a needle with some white thread because I'm going to be gathering this piece of tulle so that I can create a tutu. Now, if you follow my channel, you've seen me gather quite a number of times recently, but we're going to be doing it again. So just to review, on the folded edge, I start to gather my thread about maybe 1/4 of an inch in, and I'm just going to weave my thread through that tulle. And I do it by weaving my needle in and out of the tulle, but I only do about 3 or 4 stitches at a time. When I pull that thread through, I do it very slowly. This will help prevent knots. If you get a knot, you're going to have to start over. So you're better off to just take your time, do it slowly, weave your needle through, in and out, through your tulle, and pull it nice and slow, and that's going to gather up your tulle very beautifully to create that little tutu skirt that's going to go on the girl gingerbread. Now I'm doing a boy and a girl. I'm doing 1 gingham check balloon and 1 polka dot balloon. Obviously, you know this because you saw the fabric. But I only have to do 1 tutu because I'm just doing 1 girl gingerbread. So I'm continuing on here, just gathering up my tulle. Now, I do have this sped up a little bit. When I pull that thread through, I actually do it slower than you see me doing it there. Like I said, better off to take your time on this. Now, this is going to create a very cute double tutu skirt. Because you folded it in half, now your tutu skirt is going to be doubled up. And with this snowball mesh, that just works out so beautifully because it creates a kind of a stiff tutu because you have the snowball, whatever that material is that creates that snowball look. I'm not really sure. But when you separate the 2 layers, oh my goodness, you get the cutest tutu. Now, I did a garland creating this tutu look. If you follow my channel, you may remember that. But it was so cute, I thought I would do it again on this girl gingerbread for my balloon ornaments. That's what I'm calling them. So you want to wrap around that tutu skirt around your gingerbread. And you have to determine that you have it wide enough, that tulle that's on your thread. So wrap it around and let it meet up in the back. And as soon as you have established that you have your fabric just the right size to fit all the way around and meet up in the back, then just take a couple of maybe 2 or 3 or 4 little stitches at the end just to hold it to make sure that your tulle does not slide off your thread. So basically you're knotted it up in the beginning and you knot it up in the end, and this will keep your tutu skirt all intact. Now, I ended up trimming off about 1 inch. So I wait until I have my tutu all finished because I want to see exactly, how long I want it on the gingerbread. And I determined that I was going to cut that off about 1 inch. And don't worry about it being super straight. It is not going to matter. You're never going to notice whether it's perfectly straight or not when it's on the piece. So just go around holding your 2 layers of fabric together, and then just trim that off. And now you have a good length skirt for your gingerbread. Remember, that's 4 inches tall. So you have a bit of, maybe the skirt might be about 1.5 inches, but don't worry about whether it's 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect on that piece. Like I said, that tool, it's just, it masks any imperfections. So me being the fanatic that I am about no little crinkles or wrinkles in my fabric, yeah, I went ahead and ironed my circles. They're not perfect circles. They don't have to be, because after you get this fabric on the styrofoam, you're going to trim it up anyway. So just generally, this is around the shape that you want it to be. Now, true enough, when you start folding and gathering up that fabric around your styrofoam, you are going to get creases. But what I'm avoiding here is those little wrinkles, those little crinkles in a fabric that really detract from the look of a piece if you don't take the time to get rid of them. So I use a spray bottle with water, and I just iron mine, to get all the crinkles out. Okay, so at the top of these little gingerbreads, we have holes because they're intended to be ornaments. So I'm going to take some spackle and fill those holes on the front and on the back. Try to get that nice and smooth as you possibly can. And then I'm going to paint these. So the paint that I like to use is Crafter's Collection. They sell it at Hobby Lobby. I love this acrylic paint. The color that I love to use for gingerbread is called cedar bark. You can use whatever paint that you prefer for a gingerbread color. This happens to be my very favorite, and I always use this one. So I put 3 coats of that cedar bark on my gingerbreads. Now I paint them. I paint the 3 coats on one side, let that dry, turn it over, coat 3 coats on the back side. Then after that's dry, I just put them in between my fingers, and I paint the sides. And for some weird reason, the sides seem to cover better than the actual gingerbread. So I only do 1 coat on the sides. It's because it's very adequate. So I just use a little bit of a larger brush, and I cover everything, let it dry before I continue putting on coat after coat. Okay, now I'm going to, as those dry, now I tend to, while things are drying, move on and create other little elements of my project, whatever that might be, so as to not waste time and be, as productive as possible. So I'm going to use my little bow maker here to make a bow for the head of my gingerbread. And you've all seen this before. This is my little bow maker that I designed, and my son made it. It's absolutely beautiful. He did an amazing job. Those dowels are placed at different widths on that block of wood. And this enables me to create these beautiful, perfect little bows that end up with a beautiful center to them. So it creates a very nice little bow. Now I'm going to do a bow tie in gingham check for my boy gingerbread, and I can do the same on here. I just eliminate the look of the tails, and then I can make it look like a bow tie. Now the width of this bow, of each of the bows that I just created, is 1.5 inches. So you see on my little bow maker there, I have all of my widths of my dowels all labeled. Yeah, that's a great thing to have and very easy to create. Okay, showing you here, I'm going to do my typical eyes that I do on gingerbreads. I do 2 parallel lines Then I attach a teardrop shape as I'm showing you there. Add some eyelashes, a highlight to the eye, and just draw in the eyeballs. Now, I did a tutorial on doing these gingerbread faces a couple of weeks ago. Look for that on my playlist, because these little gingerbreads, it's going to be very difficult for you to see how I'm drawing everything in because it's very small. So if you want to refer to the tutorial that I did recently to see how I do gingerbread faces, that would be helpful for you, I think. Now, my little bow tie is going to go on there. That's going to be my boy gingerbread. Now, the only difference between the boy and the girl with regard to the face is on the girl, I put little hearts in the corners of her mouth, the line of her mouth, and I don't do that on the boy. I'm going to do the characteristic squiggle lines around the top of the head, across the arms, and across the legs. I draw everything in with a sharp pencil. That way, if I make any errors, I can create or just erase it right then and there, and then create a better look or correct whatever it is that I was not happy with. So the eraser is a really wonderful thing. I never just start painting. Oh my goodness, I would never do that. Okay, so that's obviously the girl, because you could see I put the little hearts on the corner of the mouth. I usually start by painting in my eyes and my eyebrows and the mouth, and I've already done that there. Eyelashes as well. I use a very fine point paintbrush that I always pick up at Hobby Lobby. Every other week they're 40% off. As you can see here, I have all of my squiggle lines painted in. I rosied up the cheeks, gave them white freckles, and again, check out the tutorial. You'll be able to see exactly how I do the faces. Now I'm going to take my tutu skirt and I'm going to place it on my girl gingerbread. I have 3 buttons here. Very small little buttons. I believe I had gotten those at Hobby Lobby, but you could get buttons anywhere you like. One of them has polka dots on it. It's white with red polka dots. So what am I doing here? I am going to drill a little bit of a hole in the hand where you would imagine that the string, that the gingerbread would be holding the string of the balloon. Now, it's not deep. It's just a little bit of an indentation, because you'll see later how I use that hole. So I put a small, narrow drill bit in my drill, and I just drill a little bit of a hole in there. And that's going to help me to drop down inside of that hole a little bit of wire that's going to be coiled up, and I'm going to position that in the hand, and that's going to create the look of the gingerbread holding the string which is attached to the balloon. Okay, so here we have our styrofoam balls, and I'm going to cover those with fabric. Now I'm going to do so in the same manner that I covered ornaments, which was on another very recent video that I did, a tutorial on covering ornaments with fabric. So it's the same basic idea. You're going to need some wire. I suggest a lightweight wire like a 26 gauge. I'm going to put that styrofoam ball right in the very center, and then I'm going to match it up on the opposite side. Then from there, I'm going to just start gathering my fabric around on both sides. Now, I want the gather spread out as much as possible. You don't want big folds in your gathers. Now, you have another opportunity after this, after you get the wire on that we're going to wrap around to straighten out your gathers a little bit. So basically just get them right here as best you can. Then I'll show you how we can straighten them out a little bit after we wrap this wire around. Now this wire is going to help me hold all of this on very tight. So I'm going to hold on to the wire, and then I'm just going to wrap and wrap and wrap about 3 or 4 times, and then I'm going to pull it super tight and wrap it again. Now this is going to hold very, very nicely. Now, I am going to be covering up that wire, so don't worry about the appearance of the wire there. So I'm using my needle nose pliers there to kind of squish that wire. I want it nice and tight. You don't want your fabric to be loose or bulky around your styrofoam ball. You want it as tight as you can possibly get it. Now, see what I'm doing here? I'm holding on to the wire that I wrapped around, and then I'm pulling all the way around that area where I gathered, and I'm pulling that fabric nice and taut, really, really firm and tight. And this is going to eliminate as much as possible the appearance of the gathers. Now, it's inevitable that you're going to want to trim this up. Now, I do leave a little bit of this fabric at the bottom of the balloon because naturally a balloon has an area like this. So you can make this as short as you want or as long as you want. But this makes it look like an authentic look of a balloon. As much as possible when you're covering up a styrofoam ball with fabric, but I think it looks like a balloon. I think it's super cute. So, yeah, this idea just sort of came to me. I think I was driving or something. I don't know. That happens, you know. Either I'm sleeping or driving. That's where my ideas come from, or that's when they occur. Okay, I'm taking a very fine point screwdriver, and believe it or not, this poked right through that fabric like a charm. So I found the very top of my balloon, and I poked a hole right through the fabric and into the styrofoam, just about 1/4 of an inch deep. Now I'm taking a piece of my cord. Now this cord, I can't say enough about it. I love it. I get it from Hobby Lobby in the Christmas ribbon department. I'm going to tie a knot about, it depends on how long you want the teardrop shape, but we're creating a hanger here. Okay, so after I tie my knot, I cut off the excess because that cord really holds a knot extremely well. I'm going to take Aleene's tacky glue and I'm going to pop a blob of glue right down in my hole that I created through my fabric into my styrofoam. Now I'm going to take that little knot, this is my hanger obviously, and I'm going to take my screwdriver and poke it down inside of there. And this is going to work awesome for my hanger. Now I would use a tacky glue because of the great adherence capability of Aleene's tacky glue. It's really a great glue. So you want to get that down in there, nice and firm. I didn't have it well enough to begin with, so now I'm doing it again. Poking it down in there, and I'm going to give it a good amount of time to sit in there and dry. Then I put an additional little bit of an amount of that tacky glue right on top of that knot, just to be sure it's sealed. Now, this is not going to be a heavy ornament. Obviously, that little MDF gingerbread is not that heavy. But, you know, why not just try and preserve your ornament as much as possible with tacky glue. So I'm going to cut another piece of cord, maybe about 10 inches long, and I'm going to tie a little bow around my wire that I mentioned that we're going to cover up. So this cord works very well for that. Just going to put a little tab of glue there to hold that, and then I'm going to tie a bow. Now later on, you're going to see that in the center of that little bow, I put a red jingle bell. I pull that bow nice and tight, determine how big I want my loops, and this is going to dress up the bottom of the balloon. You see, this is really an easy ornament to make. Super, super easy, all of these steps. Now, what you see me doing here is I'm looking to see, like, how am I going to insert, we're going to be inserting a wire in there to attach my string that my gingerbread is holding to the balloon. And again, that's going to be very easy. Okay, for my other balloon, I just went ahead and did that because I showed you one. And so I have that one all prepared and ready to go. Now I'm going to put the tutu on my gingerbread. So I made sure, as I mentioned, I think I had a little bit of excess there. That's fine. Better to have excess than to not have enough to reach around to the back of your ornament, because you don't want the back of your ornament to not look finished. Now, if you want, if you like, you can put your squiggle lines on the back of the arms and legs for this ornament if you want the back completely finished. Because obviously this ornament has a front side, and that's the way you're going to want to place it on the Christmas tree, so that that side is facing forward, so obviously. Okay, so now it's time to attach the tutu, and I'm going to do that with hot glue. So I start by making sure that I have the ends meet up in the back. And then once I've determined that, I'm going to start in the front, right in the center, and start tacking that tutu down. And I do it a little bit at a time, just to make sure that I'm getting the tutu on straight. So I do the center, then I go and I do under the arms, then I come back and fill in the front. Now I'm going to be placing a nice sized polka dot bow right over the front of that tutu. So that's going to cover up all of those gathers. So it's going to look very finished. Okay, now I'm center back now. And I'm going to go ahead and finish tacking that down. And I did trim off that little bit of excess. Better, like I said, to have more than enough than to not have enough. And there it goes. And now I have my tutu on. It's that easy. Now, you may remember, if you saw my tutorial where I did the garland, which is, if you haven't seen it, oh my goodness, look on my playlist. I did it during Christmas in July, so it's a pretty recent video of the garland that I did with the tutu, the gingerbreads with the tutus. So cute. One of my favorite things I've done in the past few months. So now I'm going to trim up my tutu skirt. Now, don't worry. Like I said, this doesn't have to be totally straight. It will never show. Just go around. Make sure that you have your tutu exactly the length that you'd like it to be. And now I'm going to separate the layers. And this is when it starts to take on a whole new level of cuteness, because this snowball mesh just really is so suitable for this tutu project. Okay, finishing up my trimming here. And then we're going to be putting some little buttons, as I showed you before, going down the front of the gingerbread, just to dress it up a little bit more. And then, of course, there's the polka dot bow that's going to go on the head, actually, the upper left side of the head. And now that bow is wide enough that it stretches. I think that I ended up using a little bit bigger bow on that. I think I started out with a narrow ribbon, then decided, no, I wanted a little bit bigger. So it looks like I'm going to go ahead and place on my buttons now. And for those, I'm just going to use Alien Tacky. I put the odd button right in the center, and then the red button on top and below that white button with the polka dots. Be sure, of course, that you have them nice and centered. Oh, you know what? I think I didn't end up using the red buttons. Oh, sorry. Got my projects confused in my brain. Oh, goodness me. I'm doing a lot of ornaments. Forgive me, okay? You should wait till you see everything I have coming up. Oh my goodness. I have quite a few videos in the works here with ornaments, so get ready. So you have to forgive me for forgetting that little aspect of the front of that gingerbread. I ended up using 2 white buttons with red polka dots. Okay, so I put that nice polka dotted bow right on the front of the tutu, which covers up the all those gathers and looks much better. Then I'm going to perch that other little bow that I made on my little bow maker. That was a 1.5 inch. I'm going to put that right on the upper left top of the head of my gingerbread. And she is looking so cute. Okay, now we have to work on the boy gingerbread. He's all painted up. I'm going to snip off the tails of that bow just so I can make that look like a bow tie, a gingham check bow tie. I'm going to put that right at the neck of my gingerbread boy. I'm going to puff up those little loops a little bit to look like a bow tie. And then I'm going to give him 3 black buttons. Yes, I'm sure it was 3 black buttons. Okay. So again, tacky glue. I'm going to put those are really small buttons. Again, I think I picked those up in a package of mixed buttons, I think, at Hobby Lobby. Pretty sure. But you can get buttons anywhere, but it's very important that they're very small ones. For this project anyway. Okay, so we have a very handsome little boy gingerbread now. We're going to be doing the same exact thing for him as far as attaching everything, is attaching I'm going to be using a piece of wire that's going to simulate the string, and around that wire I'm going to use some baker's twine. Now, you can pick that up sometimes at Dollar Tree, if not, easy enough to pick it up at a Hobby Lobby. So I have here it's like a florist wire. Comes in a package. I have white, and I believe I got that at Hobby Lobby in the floral department. And I'm going to cut it down to about around 6 inches. But not quite yet, because the first thing I'm going to do is take my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to just manipulate the end of the wire to create a kind of like a nub, a little blunt end. And what I'm doing here is creating something that I'm going to stick in that hole. And I don't want to do it with just the end of the wire. I need like a little bit of a nub, if that makes sense. See what I'm doing there? Creating kind of like a little ball. And this is going to fit down inside of that little shallow hole that I drilled with my drill. Now you see what I was doing there with my drill and why I was doing it. And then I put a little dab of glue at the base of that wire, and I'm just going to spiral my baker's twine up that white floral wire. And this is just going to give it a little bit of added cuteness and a little bit of color. Now, you can make your string of your balloon, if you will, as long as you want or as short. I believe I ended up going with like around 5 inches on mine. And then I'll show you how we're going to attach this to the actual balloon. Now, after you spiral this baker's twine on here, remember when you cut your wire, which you're going to make it, it's inevitable, you're going to trim up your wire a little bit. Just don't forget to put a little dab of glue on the end to hold your baker's twine on there. Because remember, that's, it's spiraled onto that wire. So you want to make sure that it doesn't slide around. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is popping that little nub that I created with my needle nose pliers into that hole with tacky glue. And I'm going to use tacky again for that sticky factor. It's really, really attaches things very, very well. Now, maybe you notice there's a little string hanging down from the hand of that gingerbread. I didn't show you this part, but it couldn't be simpler. Take like about a 3-inch piece of baker's twine. No wire required for this part. Tie a little knot in the end. Glue the little knot to the bottom of the hand and just let the string flow down from the hand. Obviously, what the effect I'm creating here is that the gingerbread is holding the string and the string is coming down from the bottom of the hand. I did this for both the boy and the girl. Do you see the string there coming down from the hand? That's just a little piece of string with a balled up end, and I put that onto the bottom of my gingerbread's hand with glue. I believe I used a tacky glue for that. So I popped my wire down into the hand, into the hole, and then I just trimmed it off. And remember, I mentioned when you trim your wire, the length you want it to place your balloon on, be sure you put a little bit of glue there, just so your baker's twine doesn't come off. Now, on my opposite end, I'm creating a little bit of a loop. Do you see that? Why am I doing that? I'm doing that so I have an extra space to place tacky glue, because I'm going to stick that up inside of the little fringes that are coming off that balloon. Now be sure that you have your balloon facing forward And you know that by the way that your bow looks on your balloon. And you're going to find a good space. Dig down inside of there and separate it. Find a good hole to put that little loop in. Now I'm going to put a blob of Aleene's Tacky in there. This is going to hold very well. This is going to adhere very, very well to that fabric. And then I placed my balloon down and just let it sit there and dry perfectly with that wire poked into the bottom of that balloon. Now I'm doing the other one, looking for that good place to pop my glue in there. Make sure my bow is facing forward, just like my gingerbreads are, and then I poke it in there, push it up as far as I can. And then I even squeeze my fabric a little bit just to be sure that glue is really sticking to the fabric. And I let it sit there for a good period of time to dry. Now I'm going to put my bells on. Everything's all dry now. And that was the last step. This was easy to do, I promise. And these are so, so cute and so unique. Don't you agree? Tell me what you think of these. I love them. I'm going to do something just as cute coming up next video. So here we have our very cute finished balloons with our bows and bells and our gingerbreads tilted, hanging from the balloons. These are going to be so cute on a Christmas tree. Remember, if you are not currently a subscriber, I hope you will become one and subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of these very cute ornaments. Okay, until next time, take care.